There we go. There we go. Now just put it in presentation mode.
Yes, it is now on presentation mode. Thank you very much. And I'm very privileged to speak on a subject that is very close to my heart. In my presentation, I'll talk about the sources that I've drawn, the information I'll be sharing from, and you'll understand why. And then I'll also paint a picture of the critical nature of mentorship, which is kind of obvious, but it will be from a personal perspective. And I'll address the question of what makes mentoring successful at different levels from own experiences. And I'll touch on the ripple effect of mentorship, propose what I believe should be some institutional framework on mentorship, and conclude. I've got like 20 minutes. I'll need to try and be quick, and I'll obviously engage a little bit more during the time for questions. So the source of my presentation, is basically lived experiences. I believe in homegrown knowledge and contextual relevance when it comes to mentorship, and I'll be sharing my insights as a mentee who has been a beneficiary of generosity of mentorship, as a mentor who has mentored cohorts of mentees for almost 2 decades, and as a DHET Future Programs Mentor Phase 2, as a mentor for the Organization for Women in Science in Developing Countries, also as a director who worked at a level, or who continues to work at a level, where the research journeys of emerging researchers begin, and where real impact happens. And I'll speak also from my research mentorship books, which I've authored based on lived experiences, as well as having been in leadership as a DVC, as Prof. Stephanie Burton has mentioned. Yeah, so in terms of the books that I will be relying on is Vision Never Dies, which was published in 2021, which actually shows that mentorship is a labor of love. I'll also rely on the research mentorship book, which was launched on the 20th of July, which demonstrates that mentorship is a catalyst for career success. And I'll also point to my other book, Navigating Academia, which shows that mentorship can aid women in navigating academia. So the Vision Never Dies book features 13 mentees, including postgraduate students, early career academics, and supervisors across various institutions in the country. And out of 22 chapters, 15 chapters speak on mentorship as a labor of love. And the research mentorship book covers quite a range of topics on mentorship, from early career struggle to how mentorship can be instrumental in supporting students who are pursuing their postgraduate studies, to how people can benefit in terms of professional visibility, personal development, in terms of dealing with gender stereotypes, in terms of executing research projects, building collaborations and networks, and improving their scientific publications or co-authorships and so on. And this book features 33 mentees across disciplines, institutions, and geographies. The Navigating Academia book demonstrates how mentorship aids women in addressing challenges they face in racialized and gendered academic work environment, from isolation to implicit biases, to harmful gender norms, to racism and sexism, to undue criticism, unwelcoming work environments, all the issues that we know women as minorities in higher education are faced with. And in most cases, they lead to a leaky pipeline where they cannot be retained in the system, given the nature of the challenges that are there. But through mentorship, they survive and thrive in such environments. In this book, 16 mentees have been featured from 6 African countries across different career stages. The book will be launched in November. So as we know, mentorship has become quite a topical issue given its importance, and I'm just very glad that, for the first time, I have been involved in quite a series of engagements, webinars, discussions on mentorship in various organizations. These are all activities that I've been involved in, including today's activity. I'm very happy because I believe that mentorship is the way to go. Mentorship is the way to build the next generation for us, to be able to preserve the knowledge enterprise. The critical nature or critical role of mentorship in career advancement across stages. Basically, I believe that mentorship is about nation building, social justice, diversity, and inclusivity. And you'll hear why I say that. I also believe that mentorship is about passion to shape lives, change lives, and impact lives. So you have to have that passion. Mentorship cannot be a forced choice. It has to be something that you are passionate about because it requires quite a lot. And I liked this quotation: the hallmark of mentorship is generational change, where an investment in one person leads to an investment in others. This speaks to the ripple effect of mentorship, meaning that if we really want to see big change, we should mentor, and people that are mentored are likely to mentor others. And thus, we are likely to have a generational change as a result. I like what Prof. Glenda say about the critical nature of mentorship. In my book, as part of the foreword, she says a lack of mentors, occasionally overt discrimination, and the academics' poor work-life balance are well-documented reasons for women's lack of career progression. And several authors speak to the importance of mentorship in career advancement, saying the lack of mentorship has been cited as a key reason for limited career development or advancement, especially among Black women. In the book, Research Mentorship, the opening chapter has this section. And in fact, this is what prompted me to write this book. One young Black woman asked me a series of questions. Please tell me, how did you navigate your career journey from early career struggles to research leadership? How did you finish your PhD at a relatively young age? How did you transition all the way from being a research assistant to research director to research professor to DVC to being an award winner and a socially engaged scientist, Queen Mother of Research, and so on? And it left me wondering. My answer to the question was very simple. Alone, I could never have made it. It was through the unparalleled support given by remarkable mentors of virtue, stature, and influence that I made it. I was developed, transformed, shaped, and sustained in my science career progression through research mentorship. Through research mentorship, I was elevated to bigger assignments, spaces, places, and platforms. Having such a support system has been pivotal in not only guiding and directing my career path, but also in creating a sense of belonging, cohesion, and solidarity that kept me in the pipeline against all odds. It induced motivation to pursue a research career and ignited my passion for science. And I wanted to show this because growing up in a rural village in Limpopo province, and I write in Vision Never Dies book, if someone had told me when I was a young girl growing up in Limpopo that I would one day become an award-winning scientist, I never would have believed them. Because the prospects of becoming a daring scientist or pursuing any prestigious science career seemed delusional due to the lack of a science-stimulating environment, facilities, and activities. And such is the case for many women who identify with me or see themselves in me. But through mentorship, I made it. And I'm showcasing here one of my mentees, Dr. Edith Palani, an orphan from Ramoboya village who scooped several awards, who has become a beacon of hope, the first PhD holder in her village, who served as my postdoctoral research fellow and is now a specialist scientist in PESA. I've been mentoring her, and these are some of the recognitions she could get despite her background. So mentorship provides an opportunity for people who would have otherwise not been able to attain or advance in their careers if they had not gotten the kind of support that mentorship provides. And she says, I have seized opportunities that have been shared with me by my mentor to the best of my ability, and I have seen excellent results. And these are some of the pictorials of her achievements. Another young rural lady with Sepo, an aspiring mycologist from Northwest Province, also obtained strings of awards. And this is what she had to say. I was exposed to networking opportunities that brought visibility to my work and enabled me to gain access to new opportunities and contacts that I tapped into. In essence, mentorship is very critical for career and personal development across various stages. I'm sure you'll agree with me that early career scientists or researchers or academics are confronted with a number of challenges, such as lack of skills in developing networks, not having a profile to attract external funding, not knowing how to establish collaborators or collaborative relationships, not having academic writing skills, and so on. In fact, in my book, I've got chapters about the respective vulnerabilities, and I demonstrate how mentorship came through for me, including how my mentees, in terms of their experiences, have been assisted to deal with similar type issues. It is clear that mentorship, improve career outcomes, such as promotions, recognitions, networks, and so on. And in the long term, it produces better scientists, better academics with reputation and credibility, who can compete in the world, who can have influence, and who are personally developed. And I saw the TUSO Resources Initiative quite amazing, speaking to communication skills and so on, because it is broad. Mentorship is broad. It has to cover, personal and professional development. Now, coming to the core of my presentation, what worked, I needed to kind of showcase a little bit of what mentorship has meant to me, what mentorship has meant to my mentees, so that you understand the part on what works from my perspective, given my experiences as both a mentor and mentee. I don't have a bucket of solutions, but what I share with you are the lessons I have learned, because I believe that my learning curves and those of my mentees and jointly may serve as techniques and tools to demonstrate what makes mentoring successful across disciplines, career stages, and socio-demographic characteristics. Firstly, a holistic, personalized, and tailored approach that meets mentees where they are. In other words, in mentorship, it becomes difficult, to utilize a blanket approach. Mentorship is quite a personalized endeavor, and Prof. Stephanie actually alluded to that. So emerging academics cannot be left to their own devices. They need someone to support them holistically. So I want to underline the holistic part of it, because in my experience, I've realized how important it is, to serve as a nurturer, as an enabler, as an advisor, as a parent, an academic parent to mentees. And my mentees here, for example, Dr. Palani mentions, I'm grateful to have an advisor, natural groomer, and enabler who supports me holistically, and so on. And Zinhle says, I discovered that a mentor is like a mother, as she becomes the go-to person on anything. And I like the statement here by one of the authors, because I've contrasted some of my experiences with what the literature says. Mentorship provides for the holistic development of scientists, technologists, engineers, mathematicians, and so on. So what works? A holistic, personalized, and tailored approach. And then this also refers to some of what other authors are saying. I just would like to read maybe the second quotation, which I felt summarizes encompasses it all. When you take on the role of being a group leader or supervisor or PI or any position where you have researchers working in your group, your focus should be on developing the people. Mentorship is your way to provide means for your research students to grow up, both in science and at the personal level, so that they become better persons, better scientists, and better everything. So you don't care so much about the science, because in science, you care about them. You want them to become better scientists. You want them to become a better person, to think more critically about things, about improving their computational skill, writing skills, or their soft set of skills, and to enjoy it along the way. It's also super important that you want to see the spark in their eyes when they do science and when they talk about science, and to understand how science is done. So again, this is to say mentorship is quite broader. What worked? Setting up SMART goals. Prof. Stephanie, you alluded to turning a vision into a plan, a SMART plan, with immediate, medium, and long-term objectives, ensuring that the expectations are realistic, and the areas that are being pursued are of mutual interest. And I'll allude to that a little bit in the next slide or two. And this is what my mentee had to say. My mentor and I engaged and conversed intensively on my short, medium, and long-term goals. And then together we strategized on how to achieve these goals. I now know where I'm coming from, where I am now, and where I'm going, Dr. Edith Palani. My mentor has been a catalyst for my career success. She motivated, enabled, and supported, facilitated my personal and professional growth. Simply, they're also talking about her personal and professional growth and how mentorship has assisted her. What worked? Ongoing mentorship. I think, Prof. Stephanie, I'll keep on referring to what you said, because your opening remarks were quite spot on, that mentorship is an ongoing exercise. I don't believe there's any time where anyone can stop to say, I don't need mentorship. I rely on, in fact, even Prof. Stephanie Burton has been my mentor when I was a DVC. So ongoing mentorship at early, mid, and advanced career stages sustains mentees in the pipeline. It helps mentees understand the world around them, prevailing imperatives, priorities, and realities. I prevailed on the shoulders of my mentors at every turn and at every stage of my career towards self-actualization. I moved from learning curve to learning curve, sometimes not even realizing how useful each learning curve would become in the future, and so on. For example, Prof. Carl Pelser initiated me into a research career. Prof. Olive Shisana used her position of power and authority, to help me navigate through issues that women go through in higher education. Prof. Stefan Barral and Prof. Patrick Sullivan have been my collaborators. They are peer mentors for over 10 years, and together we have explored new technologies and other innovations, applying them to our epidemiological work. And Prof. Glenda Gray on future pandemic preparedness. As you have heard, I am directing the South African Medical Research Council Pan-African Center for Epidemics Research, a unit that came out as a result of my engagements with Professor Glenda Gray. What worked? Attributes of mentors that keep the mentorship relationship effective. So in terms of mentorship, we all need to worry about equipping the next generation, but not everybody is a mentor, although everybody can be a mentor, especially in fact, I like what I read about one of the award-winning scientists who was asked, what does it take to be a mentor? Her answer was, I don't know, because mentorship is quite natural. It's something that most of the time you are not even aware, because you just love to empower other people. You want to see them succeed, and when you see them, you ask them, how are you doing? Where are you stuck? And that leads to you discussing, where they need to go and it can be a follow-up WhatsApp or arranging some meeting, and one thing lead to the other, and you become their go-to person. Much as there can be formalized mentorship, in most cases it starts in an informal way because of the nature of mentorship. However, much as it can happen naturally, it is important to empower people who serve as mentors, and they need to be approachable. In fact, in the book Research Mentorship, some of the mentees state that they used to dread approaching professors, thinking that it's something that is not done and whatnot. But through mentorship, they have experienced that you can actually speak to professors and you can actually get advice and so on. So issues of being accessible, issues of demonstrating some enthusiasm and being inspirational, open to new ideas, because in engaging with mentees, you learn from them, they also learn from you, and you also have to not impose yourself in terms of what you see them doing or becoming, but actually help them to achieve their vision, as it is already mentioned. And it needs to be an action-oriented type. The mentor has to be action-oriented, like to make sure that the mentee achieves their vision, not like being passive, and being supportive and non-judgmental, dependable, and so on, respecting your mentees as if they are your colleagues. So, so that they become motivated. So those are, in answering the question of what worked, the mentor must have this kind of attributes, and the list is not exhaustive. And then what worked, mentees' attributes. Again, much as everybody needs mentorship, not everybody is automatically someone with qualities of a mentee. There are times when you find that a mentee fold their arms and they are expecting the mentor to be a savior. To think for them to, in such cases, mentorship relationships don't work. Mentees have to be initiative, they have to be dedicated and hardworking, they need to have a teachable spirit, they actually drive the mentorship relationship. And so it is important that mentees understand their role, which is something that happens, as an engagement between the mentor and the mentee. But also with training, I think mentees can begin to realize what their role, in the equation is, because it's not about the mentor being a father or mother Christmas. What worked? Having mutual interest, mutual benefits, and mutual learning. In my personal experience, I enjoy mentorship because of what I see happen to mentees, like seeing them thrive in their careers, seeing them even saying things that I have said elsewhere. Like I see them rehashing me and also carving their own path, because the idea is not for them to become me, but the idea is for them to take whatever they can take from me and discover themselves and master their own path. And on the other hand, it gives me fulfillment. On the other hand, it keeps me on my toes. On the other hand, it affords me an opportunity to share my knowledge and skills. It gives me a sense of purpose. And on the other hand, they also become a support system, because as I support them in their own careers, I get supported in achieving the mutual goals that we have. I would imagine that a mentorship relationship that is not mutually beneficial would not last, because the mentor will always feel that they are giving and getting nothing in return. it is not to say that we expect some payment or the benefit. No, that's not the intention. However, it just makes sense that if the interests are mutual, you'll become very enthusiastic about it. It will happen without you even feeling it. Mutual interest, mutual benefits are important, but this does not mean you've got to be in the same discipline. You can be in different disciplines, but have certain mutual goals that you can work on. By the way, mentees can have different mentors for different goals. What worked, being mentored by a person that mentees identify with. Yeah, this is what I've also experienced along the way. And this does not mean that a black female cannot be mentored by a white male. I was mentored by a white male. But if you were to ask me, in fact, in that case, I didn't choose a mentor. I didn't look at him and say, I would like him to mentor me, because I had certain fears. I didn't see myself in him. But and at the time when he approached me, I agreed. He saw potential in me, and he decided to choose me as his mentee. I only accepted because I was afraid of him. But over time, we became friends, and today I'm very grateful that at a time when I didn't even know that I had potential, he was there to say, you have potential, and so on. And later, some of the mentees, I chose them myself. I saw myself in them, and I said, I would like to be like this woman one day. So yes, there is an element of a mentee seeing themselves in a mentor that encourages them to want that particular person to be their mentor. But it doesn't mean they can't be mentored by people who have other socio-demographic characters. It just makes it easier on other levels. This is what my mentees had to say. And then also what works is having mentees who appreciate mentorship. A mentee or an early career researcher must want to be mentored. It can be imposed on them, much as a mentor also cannot be imposed upon. I mean, as a mentor, like just seeing my mentees writing about me and appreciating what I do also keeps me going. And one realizes that, wow, it is so important to give support to people that appreciate that support. Yeah, but there are instances where somebody does not realize it. Like I have given an example where a mentor can approach that particular person, and over time the relationship builds. But there are times when you see potential in a person and you approach them and it doesn't work because the person does not appreciate it. So it cannot be enforced. And I'm getting to a close. What worked? Creation of opportunities for experiential learning of mentees as interns, research assistants, postgraduate students. I have realized that putting mentees on multiple projects, because I've worked exclusively as a mentor, as well as sometimes being a line manager and putting those that work with me under different projects and mentoring them, in the sense that I would not work with them, just on the projects, but I would be striving to build them personally, professionally, and otherwise, holistically, such that, by the time they leave, they are well-rounded professionals versus people who know how to do projects and so on. So putting students on projects helps them to get hands-on experience. It makes them look real. They see you struggle with them, thinking, what about this way, that way, that way. I often make them laugh, that when I worked with my mentor, like my first mentor, he would ask me, what do you think? And I would be thinking nothing. I don't know if the brain can be paused if you are not having stroke, but yeah, I would be thinking nothing. I had not learned to, like, I would be waiting for the mentor to think and tell me what they think. And I would be asked, what are you thinking? And over time, I learned that, I must apply my mind. I'm going to be asked, what am I thinking? And so on. And so it helped me to develop critical thinking skills. And seeing my mentor also not having answers that are lined up for different scenarios made me realize that it is all about thinking. Is not like, here's a bucket of answers. You think and come up with solutions. So my mentees have appreciated being involved in the work with me and seeing me learning with them and so on. One critical thing about mentorship is its ripple effect. Today, one of my mentees has successfully mentored 30 honor students because of being inspired by the mentorship we had. And another one, I'd like to call her now, Dr. Edith Palani. I normally like to feature my mentees when I talk because it makes it real. I just want her to say something about this slide.
Good morning. Thank you very much, Prof. Yes, as Prof has alluded, mentorship has ripple effect. Once you have been mentored, you are most likely to mentor. And I appreciate that what I have learned from her, I refuse it to keep it to myself. I also want to transfer it to other mentees that I work in line with. For example, now visiting us in for a month, where she'll be trained on how to initiate research projects and also on supervision of postgraduate students, because she is an earlier career scientist and would like development in such aspects. So I've appreciated mentorship, and yeah, I have a duty also to carry it forward. Thanks, Prof.
Thank you. As you can see, she has put here 10 mentees that are already under her belt. To show that mentorship breeds mentorship. Hence, I had said that it can really afford our country and the world an opportunity to preserve the knowledge enterprise. Thank you very much, Dr. Edith Palani. I know and in terms of what I see institutions having to do based on what I've presented as what works. My observation is that institutions converse about mentorship quite a lot, but they don't have a solid mentorship framework that can be used to guide academics in the provision of robust mentorship programs. So as a framework based on what works, I think institutions need to understand the context and the core needs of the people that they are developing mentorship programs for, and based on that, develop standardized mentorship methods that would work in their context, and make sure that the environment is conducive and there's ongoing feedback, as well as sharing journeys of successful mentorship over and over, because that's one thing that is hardly told. Most early career scientists just see professors that are successful and so on, and they really don't know how that sufficient platforms, to keeping the next generation in deliberate actions to create a conducive environment for mentorship is quite important, and adopting best practices to enable scale up. So I think these four are very important when thinking about developing a solid framework for mentorship. So at an individual level, it's points that I've mentioned, and at an institutional level, I believe that a mentorship framework of this sort can be developed. So in conclusion, mentorship is definitely critical to the development and retention of academics, and it can enhance diversity and as we have seen the example of young scientists that are being mentored who may have otherwise not gotten a chance to advance in their careers in the manner that they did. And learning definitely has little meaning until it's passed on to the next generation. I'd like to close with this and to commend the COP, Prof. Stephanie, and the team for this initiative, because
I feel we've lost your sound. Refilwe, maybe turn off your camera. We seem to have lost you.
With your questions.
Sorry, would you mind just recapping a little? We lost your last few sentences.
Oh no, I concluded by reading the quotation by Magdalene, which says, we all know that mentorship is important, and yet we don't seem to value it appropriately or recognize individuals who devote time, energy, and passion to mentoring. And I was saying that I do want to commend the COP for this initiative of engaging on mentorship, because this begins to address this very aspect. We need to talk about mentorship more. We need to value those who are involved in mentorship more and appreciate them for the time, energy, and passion they devote, because the future of science is in mentorship or mentoring. Thank you very much.
Gosh, thank you, Refilwe, for such a wonderful, comprehensive overview. And I can see many people in the audience clapping, giving applause. Really, that was a very interesting and insightful presentation from somebody who has so much experience in the whole field of mentorship. We're going to move on to our second speaker, and we will have questions and some discussion at the end of this. I think we now will have a very different kind of presentation from certainly somebody who comes from a different background. Our next speaker is Professor Leslie Swartz, who